Welcome to another episode of Band Director Bootcamp, the podcast with productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. I'm your host, Lesley Moffat, and I'm really grateful to be sharing this platform with you. As busy band directors, we know you don't have time to watch lengthy professional development webinars, so we share 20-minute tidbits with takeaways you can use to support you in this awesome profession and in a healthy way. And I've got Nathan Rødahl with me today, and he's an orchestra teacher, you guys, but just hang on, it's going to be okay. We have a lot in common. He's actually a neighbor here. I'm in the Seattle area, and he's Port Angeles High School's orchestra director there and also a music director with the Bainbridge Island Youth Orchestra. He served as a national leader for the Connected Arts Networks, currently is doing that, I believe, too, and is the Northwest Chair on the National Council for Orchestra Education and Pedagogy with NAFME. And his passion is being staunchly devoted to promoting academic repertoire for the string orchestra composed by living, underrepresented composers. So how cool is that? Welcome aboard, Nathan.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Welcome to Bandland, the dark side over here. Yeah. Yeah. So before we let you tell us a little bit more about your journey to becoming an orchestra director, becoming a music teacher, I just want to tell people why they want to hang on. What are they going to get out of this, 20 minutes together? And he's going to basically share 3 things that he's done to create a culture where every student feels like they belong and has an opportunity to lead, and how that has impacted students and community and teachers. And his way of going about that is really different, as having taught high school band for more than 30 years, being super performance oriented. This is a very different way of thinking about things. And I want, if you think, I already know what he's going to talk about, you just might be surprised. So hang on, let's find out how he did this. But first of all, Nathan, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up at Port Angeles High School and working with the Bainbridge Youth Symphony. All that.
Well, I suppose I should start off by saying I began my musical journey on flute. And I grew up around all kinds of band people, but it just got really tiresome having my mother as my private teacher. So I hope the band directors don't take any offense out there when I switched to violin, because mom and dad wouldn't know anything about what I was practicing and they might leave me alone. It didn't work. They still bothered me every time I practiced. It didn't work at all. But I went to school in the Olympia School District, which is a very competitive area for music. I went to Capitol High School right when Joe Divig was hired. Lots of folks might know who he is. He's a good guy. Ended up at PLU, Pacific Lutheran University, because that's where my private teacher from high school was. And he said a couple of things that were perhaps very selfish looking back, but really just convinced me that it's more important that for your undergrad you get the most attention and really the best fit with your teacher. And from there, it was pretty much just a rocket ship up to where I am now. However, growing up in a really competitive environment, I also participated for 7 years in the Tacoma Youth Symphony. And I really saw the balance between like high stakes performance expectations and creating a culture and a rapport with your students, where just making music together is really the goal, and how those 2 things have to be balanced with each other if you're going to keep kids coming back for more. As an orchestra teacher specifically, it's really, really challenging once you're a high school orchestra teacher to keep your classes full. And we just can't afford right now, and I'm sure the band folks out there agree, we can't afford to send any student away when they are knocking on our door to get in. We have to find a way to make sure everybody feels like they belong. I've made a lot of really, really great friends who are ready to burn it down. And sometimes I'm mitigating the burn it down response, and sometimes I'm the one throwing gasoline on the fire. But all the folks around me have really encouraged me to go down this route. And I've seen the success of moving away from the performative expectations and really focusing on the culture.
That seems pretty scary, because the performance piece is pretty public. Right. Yeah. And you can't get up and say, hey, now listen, folks, let's lower the bar for the performance stuff, because before the basketball game or before the concert, you don't make those kinds of announcements and just say, but in class, here's what we're doing. So it sounds great what you're saying. Tell us, what does that look like in real life?
Well, there's a meditation teacher I listen to who says you can't forget your zip code. When you're talking about, letting go of all of your expectations of yourself and letting go of your expectations of yourself and others, that doesn't mean that you have no more responsibilities anymore. You can't forget, where are you? What is your culture and context? So I took over a program that is pretty well known and successful. Ron Jones had this job for 41, 43 years, something like that. And I do have, a responsibility to keep up that tradition of prominence in the community, if not the performative expectations. Because outside of how good of a teacher I or anyone else is, times just change and cultures change. And when maybe kids are valuing softball a little more than private lessons, you may not be able to pull off, your Mazlanka 4 performance with your high school band. You might have to pick repertoire that's, achievable, where the kids can still play well. So a lot of it is picking the right repertoire where the kids sound good. They sound, you're getting ones at contests just because you're picking the right repertoire for the kids. Audiences want to hear a good concert, not a hard concert. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. They also want to hear a good concert, not a long concert. That's another thing we can all keep in mind. But even if you're not changing anything about what you do as a music teacher in terms of what repertoire you pick and the high stakes environment of the context you're in with your school, if you're at a school where we go to contest and we win every year, and if I don't, my job is at risk. Been there, currently there. I get it. Then it's about the culture in the classroom. And I'm sure you've talked about it before with your guests. You cannot do it all as a high school music director. There is just no way. You've got to find graceful ways to delegate some of your tasks that don't need to be done by you. Something else that we all know is how important routines are in your classroom, of having a routine that is the students expect and can follow through on whether or not you're there. I mean, what school district has music subs that just know what they're doing perfectly? I mean, we've got some people who know music and they're subs, but it's pretty rare to find, one of those gym music subs that can just walk in the room and do it the way you would. So having some students, if not your whole classroom, at least a handful that know how to do your warm-up routine every day, can be a beautiful way to create this culture of leadership. And something that I do, and I was inspired to do it through my work with the Connected Arts Network. We participate in action research. And if folks want to learn more about CAN, they can go to nafme.org. Just type in the little search bar, Connected Arts Network. They can learn more and even participate, if you so desire, and learn more about these things. My action research was about leadership. So what I did was I had my students one at a time, and everybody had to do it. No excuses. Just take the kids through the warm-up routine. And the first time through, all they had to do was just ask to tune, ask for the D major scale, and then the little concert etude we were working on at the time. They didn't have to direct or anything. They just had to do the 3 things in order. And when everyone had done it once, I introduced just some directing. And the third round, they had to detect an error. They didn't have to correct it, but detect it. And the last one at the end of the year was detect the error and fix it. And every student did that. And for me, grades are like a yes or a no thing. There's no gray area, do or do not. There is no try. Every student got an A because every student got up there and we would just go through the checklist. And if they hadn't done one of the things, they would do it again. And when I started this school year, I didn't even have to ask on the first day of school. And I'm one of those people that plays on the first day of school. Your kids signed up for your class to make music. And we're one of the groups of people who can make music on the first day. So let's give the kids a break from reading through syllabi and just play. So my kids showed up and we tuned and we played, and it took almost no effort for me other than hitting the violist on the back of the head to stop, twirling his bow around like the Karate Kid.
Yeah, like the trombone players in the band. I got you. See, I can translate orchestra to band stuff so that this is all relevant. Oh, well, these are really good concrete ideas. And because that first day, as a high school teacher, when I'd done that, I loved the first day because, except for your freshmen, everybody coming in, they knew the routines. It was actually pretty easy once you'd been there for a year or two, if you've put those foundational pieces in there, and then the performances become easier because you've taught routines. Kids know how to expect, and it's not all about you and the song. It's about we as an ensemble. Mm-hmm. Before I ask you our final question, I want to ask you listeners a question. Are you feeling overwhelmed with the never-ending tasks of being a band director? Do you dream of having a strong music program while still enjoying time for yourself and your family? Well, the Empowered Music Educator Academy is here to turn that dream into a reality. Here at the Academy, we offer a comprehensive suite of resources tailored just for you. From insightful books that offer fresh perspectives to engaging courses filled with practical strategies. But that's not all. If you need a more personalized approach, you can use our one-on-one coaching sessions, which are designed to address your unique challenges, helping you find harmony in your busy schedule. And for a truly immersive experience, join us at one of our retreats where you can rejuvenate and connect with fellow music educators. The Empowered Music Educator Academy isn't just about teaching music. It's about enriching your life as a band director. We're here to ensure you thrive professionally and personally, providing you with personalized tools for wellness and productivity tips that last a lifetime. So don't miss out. Visit our website at powereducator.com to learn more and take the first step towards a more balanced, fulfilling career in music education. Because at Band Director Bootcamp, we believe in empowering you to conduct not just music, but a life you love. All right, Nathan, we are back here. I want to ask you a little question here and then see if you can, we can talk about some resources if people want to dig in more. But, this is all great. You're like, oh, all the kids get A's. It just doesn't matter kind of stuff. So people are going, that won't fly in my area. And I've kind of, you and I are talking about this. How do you motivate when there's not a trophy out there or the grade or the playing test? Don't kids just give up and say, I don't care now?
That is a significant fear. And it is based on your context and what you're able to do. And sometimes you can only change so much, per month or per school year or per concert. You've got to know the territory, as they say in the music band. But going back to the leadership and the first day of school, and you said that most of the kids can do it except for the freshmen. Us music teachers are probably the only people in the high school who will see a student more than 1 year in a row.
I love that.
So, yes. So we in the music department have the most power to affect school-wide change when it comes to social norms and school culture. And so we have to take that responsibility with pride and use it to not just catalyze our music department so that it's a place where kids want to be. And that's a lot of foo-foo stuff that maybe people are still gawking at. But if you're in a school where the kids show up and nobody's happy, it's a school where even the teachers don't want to be there. It's not just responsibility, it's opportunity. You could be the person driving the school culture into a place where this is the spot where everybody wants to be. Because you will see kids year after year, even if you're the lowly orchestra teacher who just has one period at the high school all day, and you have to share rooms with the band teacher, and the year they gave you a chamber orchestra, you have to share with the choir teacher too, and you're just getting your classroom on loan from other people. Been there. You make a lot of colleagues, but you still have that power to affect real change. And when it comes down to, what motivators are there after we give up on the performing, think about how those performative expectations for a lot of students can actually be a negative. You work your whole semester or trimester towards this concert, and you've done your very best, and the last week before the concert you're using duct tape, WD-40 and spit to hold it together, and the kids have this concert and they feel bad about it, even though you watched the recording and that's as good as they could have played. You did your best to pick the right repertoire that was right where they were, and for whatever factors, they just don't feel good about how they played. And maybe it's because your community has a culture of cutthroat expectations about performance. So if you're in that spot and you're killing yourself trying to get those ones at adjudication and it's just not going to happen this year, then you need to derive fulfillment from the other 75% of the national standards.
And those would be what? Bring those up.
So performing is just one, but it's not even the first one. It's creating music. And I think probably jazz band directors do this more than the rest of us. I think elementary orchestra directors do it the most. They have a lot of, at least the folks that I know, a lot of call and response, and they have to predict the pitch. And these are the same things the jazz band directors do when they're trying to teach kids how to improvise for the very first time. Something that a lot of high-level band and orchestra directors are afraid of, the improv element, but really it's foundational to learning an instrument if you break it down. So creating, performing, and then responding. So when you have that bad concert, how are you going to use that to catalyze the students to maybe try harder next time? And focus on what can we do to be better next time? Not what went wrong last time. Everybody knows what went wrong last time. You don't need to muddy the water with how bad are we? That's not a good place to live. But what are we going to do tomorrow so that our next concert is better? And even just that shift in your focus for the kids of having a growth mindset of, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm going to take steps to get where I want to be.
But you have to identify where that is first, don't you? And that's absolutely. The responding. Okay, here's where we are. So GPS, where are we going? How are we going to get there?
And the last one is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The kids being part of that process is so important because so often it's just the teacher up there telling them, here's how you did, here's what we need to do better, here's the next song.
Oh, teachers are great at responding. I mean, we lay in bed awake most nights, just worried about it.
Oh, it's not just me.
Yeah. That euphonium player is going to that B natural. He will never get it right. And it's just the one kid is we're going to get a 2 at contest now instead of a 1 because this one kid. Yeah, we do it too. And we need to be growth mindset as well and have some grace with ourselves that I did the things that could be done to make the improvements that I had the power to affect. The last category of the 4 is connecting. And this one is sort of the most ambiguous. For me, I try to think about connecting it to their real life and why is music an important part of their world and finding ways to instill that. For our more high achieving students, that's playing out in the community. My chamber orchestra students play quartet gigs a couple times a month out in the communities. They get to put out a little tip jar, make some money, and just see themselves as being lifelong musicians, if not career musicians, and how this can be a part of my life. It can also be something really simple, like inviting the art teacher to send you some examples of student art that you pair with your concert, on a PowerPoint screen behind you while you're doing your performance. That counts as connecting. Anything that's just connecting what you do in rehearsal to the world outside of your classroom. But if we only focus on performing, we're only doing 25% of what we're supposed to be doing in the classroom.
And the performing is enriched when we do those other pieces. It's it takes more care of itself. So, but it's hard. That's hard because the immediate results are we've got a concert next week or whatever, and that panic mode. But I really appreciate having this conversation out there because I know we're coming into contest season and all of those things, and so keeping it in perspective is super important for all of us so that our students can do that too. Before I let you go, Nathan, you alluded to it briefly, but I want you to talk to us for about 10 seconds more about the Connected Arts Network and how people can dig in more if they want to, what they could find there and the like. What's that resource?
So the Connected Arts Network is a federal grant that was started by the New York City Department of Education, and it brings teachers together from all of the arts, visual arts, theater arts, music. I'm leaving one out. Theater, visual. There's one I'm leaving out.
Performing. Oh gosh, I feel stupid now because I just.
Yeah, me too. These people will let me know it. And you can have one opportunity a month to meet with other teachers who know exactly what you're going through. So us teacher leaders have been working the last 2 years to get content together for smaller regionalized cohorts where it'll be just orchestra teachers talking about orchestra stuff, just band people talking about band stuff, just elementary band people talking about elementary band stuff. So we can get really specific. I know when I was teaching junior high and elementary orchestra, I could go a month and not see anybody who taught what I taught.
Yeah. And we have a lot of teachers that get isolated like that, either in your building or because of your location. So NAFME's got our backs, you guys.
So the Connected Arts Network gives you a chance to connect with those people and brings in nationally recognized people to talk about sort of question mark topics like social emotional learning and diversity, equity, access, things that we really believe that we participate in, but maybe need to know a little more about. And it's just a beautiful community to be a part of.
Well, I would highly encourage folks to take advantage of that. I do a lot of coaching, and I do group coaching and the like, and it's really wonderful because as I put my groups together, I do the same thing NAFME does, but NAFME's doing this for no fee. Once a month. My groups meet more frequently, but that's where the growth happens when you can do that. So thank you, NAFME, for having those abilities out there. I don't know what we'd have done without our state and national organizations ever, but especially through and during all these changes with COVID. So stepping up to the plate every time. So, hey, thanks for coming over from the orchestra side there today, Nathan, to talk to us a little bit about some strategies and some things to think about as we all reflect on our programs and where we want them to be, where they are now, and how we help kids grow and we grow. This has been Nathan Rødahl from the Pacific Northwest, just like me, from Port Angeles. And again, thank you for being here today. And thank you to all of you out there in podcast land who listen here and then who show up for your students every single day and change kids' lives through the magic of music education. The work you do matters, and so do you. So join us next time on Band Director Bootcamp for another episode of Productivity and Wellness Tips for Busy Band Directors.